Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let me start this up so we can get into it. All right. Here we go. Uh, Good morning, everybody. Secret Squirrel, what's going on? So, the reason why I'm doing this stream this morning is because I promised Secret Squirrel that I would do a morning stream. And this morning I overslept. So, when I woke up, I said, well, you know what? I'm a man of my word. I said I was going to do a stream on Sunday morning, so here it is. And I want to thank Secret Squirrel for for actually keeping me honest, and and liking these streams. And again, for all of you who are in here in the chat, thanks again for stopping by. I really, really, really appreciate it. And last night was fun. I don't know if you guys were here for last night, but it was awesome. Last night was fun. Emily came by. And we talked about a lot. It was good conversation, and it's fun to see how different lawyers get to this spot, to where we're here talking to you. So thanks for sleeping in. Great show. Thanks, Agrippa. You don't know. It was it's interesting because there's so many. Everyone's path to get to YouTube is so different, and even mine was different, and it's interesting to see how the different lawyers all have gotten here and have gotten success, different styles and things of that nature. So it's a pretty amazing story. Let me turn this up so I can, here we go, get a better vibe on this. But how's everybody doing out there? I know COVID is rampant. I know it's like psychopathies. What's going on? I haven't seen you in a while. Peace, brother. Peace. So I don't know. Let's get into it, right? Let's just get into it. What's been going on? I had some things I wanted to talk about today. I don't know. Where should I start? I got the Supreme Court. I got COVID stuff, and then I got my experience, my first year on YouTube. So I was going to talk about those three things. So I don't know. Does anyone have a preference? Matter of fact, Secret Squirrel, which one should I start with? Because it's because of you that I'm here. So I got to give you a couple of seconds to let me know. Let me see. You are hiding in a closet. The closet's back there. I'm outside the closet. I'm almost inside. I'm not inside the closet yet. I'm outside. But the Croatian sensation. Hey, what's going on, Barney? Thanks for the £5 Secret Squirrel. So, all right. So nobody should start with SCOTUS. All right. So let's start with it. Let me screen share what's been going on, what I have for the Supreme Court. So I'm just going to pull up the ruling so we can all look at it together. So here it is, SCOTUS. Where is it at? It's this tab. Boop. So here's a ruling from the Supreme Court's website. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see it. So this was Friday's case. Now, there are a couple of things. I do want to say this. When you talk about the Supreme Court, usually that court does not move fast. That court moves slow as shit. And I'm just being honest with you. It moves slow. Like, to have a case go up within a week and get a ruling is like unheard of, like really unheard of. But, we got that this week. Now, I got to give you guys a little background. So obviously, us attorneys, we always, we talk and we try to predict like these rulings and what happens. So there were four of us who were kind of trying to predict. Actually, there was five of us. So Nick Riccietta, he believed that there would be a standing issue, and so did I. And I thought there would be a standing issue, and so did Uncivil Law. So we said the case is going to be bounced. They're probably not going to hear it because of the standing issue. So obviously, our reasoning was because the Texas lawsuit was essentially the government of Texas going in and saying, well, listen, we looked at Georgia law, and it doesn't seem like Georgia is following Georgia law. And one of the biggest issues with Georgia law is that it says that, you can't have mail-in votes or whatever Georgia law said, they're not following it. And the courts in Georgia are misinterpreting Georgia law. So if those things are true, then that affects us, because that affects who's president And since it affects who's president, it affects us. So we have standing to go to the Supreme Court and say, hey, Georgia's misinterpreting Georgia law, and the Supreme Court should throw out their votes because Georgia doesn't, Georgia's misinterpreting Georgia law. And the same argument was for Pennsylvania, Michigan, all these other states. Texas was going in and saying, we've looked at your laws, you're not following them, you're violating your laws, and since you're violating your own laws, you're violating the Constitution. But we live in a federal republic, and in our system of government, each state is also a sovereign entity with the federal government. There's like a doctrine called separate sovereigns. So if the federal government is sovereign and the states themselves are sovereign. So when it comes to federal law, the federal government and the federal Supreme Court has final say over federal law, right? So if it's a constitutional question, does this law violate the Constitution? Then the Supreme Court has the final say. But that's not true when it comes to state law. When it comes to state law, it's the state Supreme Court that has sovereignty over that. And they say, well, this is what our law means. And they have the final say over state law. It's a real interesting distinction. So Texas was essentially saying that the state laws passed in Georgia, for instance, that were interpreted by the state Supreme Court, and the officials were being interpreted wrong. Now, the Supreme Court doesn't have standing to hear a case like that. They don't have standing to hear, if state law says do X, they don't have a right to go tell the state Supreme Court that you're misinterpreting your own law. Only thing they can do is say whether or not that law violates the Constitution. And if it doesn't, then there's nothing they can do. Says Nate the lawyer, why are you still talking about this? Because this is my weekly live stream. I'm catching up, Kurt. So that's essentially what happened. Uncivil laws in the building. So that's essentially what happened. So this order was really just, 3 lines, and it really just exposes that fact to the public. So let's read through it real quick. It says, the state of Texas motion for leave to file a bill of complaint is denied for lack of standing under Article 3 of the Constitution. Now, Texas filed a bill of complaint. Now, it's interesting thing to note is that there's been an issue with some of the originalists, and the argument has always been, if 2 states sue each other, does the court have a right to not hear that case? Or is the court compelled to hear the case because of the parties? So Texas suing Georgia, no matter what the issue is the court compelled to hear it? Now, if the court is compelled to hear it, then they just can't deny it. They have to then hear the case, right? Because it's original jurisdiction. So if a case comes to the Supreme Court under original jurisdiction, then there are some people on the court who believe, well, the court has no discretion. They must hear that case. So it's a difference from dropping it for standing versus dropping it after a motion to dismiss. So here the court is saying, well, we're dropping it for a standing issue. You don't have the right to bring this case under original jurisdiction. It's not an automatic. Then they give the reason. Texas has not demonstrated a judicial. Oops, let me do this so you guys can see it. So I forgot to change the screen. So then they add, Texas has not demonstrated a judicially cognizable interest in the matter in which another state conducts its elections. And that's just going back to that same point that I was saying before, where Texas doesn't have an interest in how someone else changes their laws, right? That just does not make sense. Texas can't go into Georgia and say, I believe you're not enforcing your laws right. I don't believe that you're interpreting your laws right. That just doesn't make sense. And then it also comes down to, how is Texas being harmed by it? Because the Constitution gives Georgia the right to do its electors whatever way it chooses, right? So how is Texas being harmed? Texas did it right. Texas did whatever they wanted, but they don't have any. They're not being harmed by what Georgia's doing. They can't explain how we're being harmed. It's not attenuated by saying that Georgia's doing it wrong. Number one, they don't have the right to do that, and number two, there's no really connect but for this, but for that, and especially because the Constitution does give Georgia the right to have its electors whichever way it chooses. And if all those state officials are saying this is the way, because don't forget, it simply comes down to this. All those state officials are saying, we choose to elect our electors this way. And Texas is saying, you don't. That's the contest here. And the Constitution gives Georgia that right. So then at the end of the day, the Supreme Court says all other pending motions are dismissed as moot. Now, Justice Alito and Justice Thomas, they are going to the more originalist meaning of the Constitution. So they give a couple of lines just saying that they would have granted the motion. They would have granted the motion to file a bill of complaint because they don't believe they have that discretion under original jurisdiction, but would not grant any other relief. And they expressed no view on any other issues. So, and they grant certiorari for another case. So that was simply what happened. I think most people, most legal scholars, they all believed, they all saw this coming. I saw it coming. Kurt saw it coming. Emily saw it coming. Everyone saw this coming because it's just one of those fundamental principles of law. So it's not like it was a shocker, but I think because of the nature of politics now, if the Supreme Court makes a ruling that's just really fundamental on U.S. law, it is what it is. I think a lot of people aren't happy because of the outcome, but this is what the law is as of now. So if you have an issue with it, you really have an issue with the Constitution. You don't have an issue with the people on the bench. And this was really a 9-0 decision, even though it's 7-2, but this was really a 9-0 decision. Nate the lawyer, I believe, is a political stunt by Texas AG to get a presidential pardon. Yes, he is under federal indictment. He is under federal indictment. But you know what, though? If you even watch my video about this, I didn't mention that because it's really about the arguments, right? And to get into someone's motives, that's one thing. But if they have a good argument or they had a bad argument, then if you can attack the argument on the merits, then I just rather do that and say, well, hey, but I do think this was obviously a political stunt. And then when you had 19, it's funny because Robert Barnes, was on Twitter. And after like 19 states joined and 100 congressmen, they thought that gave the case more credibility, right? They were like, oh my God, all these states have joined. You got 20 states and this, the Supreme Court has to hear it. But that's just not so. That's just not so. Supreme Court decides what they want to hear, and they didn't hear it. So this is for $2 £2 super chat from Secret Scroll. What does the other pending motions bit mean? I think there might have been some other motions pending, depending on whether they heard the case or not. So that's why I think they're saying that they're all moot. We don't give an opinion on those, and they're all dismissed because if we're not going to hear the case, then we're not going to rule on the emotion. So it's just kind of like, since we're not going to hear the case, we're not going to. These motions are thrown out the window because this is it doesn't work that way. We're not. It's weird to say that we're going to rule on motions, but we're going to throw out the case. It's just like they throw out the case. So that's what that bit means. I think one of the motions was an injunction. So to stop certification, some of that stuff, but they're all moot. If we're not going to hear the case has no merit. If the case has no standing, then we're just not going to hear it. Civil law says, Secret Scroll, the motions to intervene, the motions to submit an amici and ancillary bullshit. Yeah. But again, if the main cause of action is thrown out, then, all the motions are finito. Let me see. Nate the lawyer. In your opinion, what precedent do you think this sets for the future? I don't think this actually sets precedent. What I do think it just kind of says something that we already knew that's fundamental in U.S. law, and that is that one state can't tell another state how to run its state. That's just fundamental. Just imagine if New York told Texas how to enforce gun laws. You guys aren't enforcing your gun laws, and it's interesting. An interesting story is that happens sometimes. I know. Here in New York, a couple of years ago, the mayor of New York and the government, actually the state government, had a beef with Virginia because Virginia has more lax gun laws. But this was when Virginia was more ruby red, and that's what they were saying. You guys aren't enforcing your gun laws, and you know what Virginia said? F you. We can do whatever we want. And that's what I'm talking about. It's the state of Virginia is sovereign in and of itself. The state of New York is sovereign in and of itself. If you got a problem with what's going on in Virginia, you can move. You can go someplace else. You don't have to stay in Virginia. That's the great thing about being in America. Like me, I hate the gun laws in New York, but if I really hate them so much, I can go move. Or I can try to change them here, but I have to go through the process here. It's a good question. So, you know, I think it's just fundamental. It's it's a short ruling. It's fundamental. It just is what it is. If I don't know why conservatives would love to open up that can of worms. For having other states tell other states how to not only interpret their laws but enforce their laws. That just seems a little over the top. And I know a lot of my conservative state right friends wouldn't really, it just was like, what? Is this what you guys really want? Because then you want to eviscerate any state's rights, right? If another state can tell another state how to run their stuff, then it's like, what rights do any state has? It's really now you've turned us all into just a federal government where the Supreme Court tells everybody how to run their own laws, and that's just not the way it works here. Oh, thank you. Totally agree with you. Thank you so much. And again, I still don't understand how my conservative colleagues can support a case like this, understanding the implications of it. Especially with states' rights. Nate the lawyer, is tomorrow the Electoral College finalizes the election? Yes, the Electoral College tomorrow they're going to vote, and if Joe Biden gets more than 270 votes in the Electoral College, it's over. Trump, he is officially president-elect. And I think that is what's going to happen. That's when I think you'll start seeing the shift from a lot of these Republicans, then starting to say, well, because he is president-elect at that point. It's just weird to see how everybody had started to be this hyper technical, try to get this hyper technical understanding of state law, and this hyper technical understanding of the law. It's just I don't know. It's kind of fascinating. When at first, for the past 200 years, for instance, the media, since the 1860s, something like that, the Associated Press has been calling the election. This person won, this person won, this person won. No, never had a problem with it. Now, this is the first time where the media says this person won, though the media doesn't pick elections. Okay, so we dispense with that. So we'll be hyper technical with that. Then after the states certify the electors, usually you would say, okay, well, the state certified 306 electors for this guy. It's over. But no. So now we got to wait till the actual vote happens. And when the actual vote happens, then, there's no turning back. It's over. It's over. It's over. On civil law, let me see what he's saying. On civil law says, Nate the lawyer, it is very bad from conservative view of federalism. And I am grumpy that apparently 18 conservative AGs and 150-ish conservative members of the House thought this was a good idea. Yeah, I don't know why they would put themselves in it, because this is like, this is like at next level type stuff. I just don't know why they would do that. So that's my feelings on that today. The Supreme Court ruling, I think, was a good ruling. I think I don't think anybody was really surprised. I do feel bad for my man Barnes, which again, I was throwing a little fun. I was playing fun. I was playing a little fun with them on Twitter, messing with them, down goes Frazier and everything, because, we just have fun like that. But, and Barnes has been right when, Barnes is right. He's right. When I'm right. So that's it. But I think he missed the mark on this one. He had a very good argument. His argument, I think, was good, but I just think it just missed the mark on the law. And that has nothing to say about Barnes as a person or even Barnes' legal acumen, because I think his argument was a brilliant legal argument. It was. I just think it lost based on the precedent and the way our country's set up. It's not, if anybody calls his argument a silly or foolish argument, I think that's wrong. I think it was an interesting argument. I think it was a creative argument, but I think it was just wrong on the law at the end of the day. No disrespect to Barnes. He's good, but I think he tried to change the law in a way that had ramifications, which I don't think he understood, like on civil law said earlier. Agrippa, what you saying? I blame the proliferation of the YouTube hack lawyers. Oh, no. You're trying to get me in trouble. On civil law says, my disappointment is immense, and my day is ruined. Oh, no. And my day is ruined. I said dad, but my day is ruined. I got to clean my glasses because this is getting harder and harder to find. So I don't know. What do you guys think about the ruling? It is what it is. I think it's over, and Joe Biden is going to be president, and I think we all know that now. So we'll see. And second, I want to give a shout out to my girl, Exiled. Exiled got some great news. She's cancer, hopefully, right? I hope I read the tweet right, but it seems like she's cancer free. So Exiled is my girl. Exiled is a great friend of the show, great personal friend. Exiled, it was some outstanding news this morning. So, for all you guys, please give a great shout out to Exiled. She got great news yesterday. She is cancer free. Hopefully you'll be with us for another 1,000 years, hopefully. So yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And yes, it's amazing. So, Exiled. Woo. I you don't know how happy, because I heard some things over Discord. So please, it is amazing. And it's so wild, because you just don't know what people are going through, but I'm just so happy for you. So please, Exiled, congratulations. That's what's important. That's what's important. All right, so we finished with our first story, the Constitution. But I think everybody's kind of heard it already. I'm saying something that was kind of 2 days old, so you guys knew about that. Let's talk about COVID. So I hate being Debbie Downer with this COVID thing, but what's going on? It's like, if you look at the numbers now for COVID, they look very, very crazy. Like, they look insane. The COVID numbers look insane. Now, for those of you who don't know, let me just explain my position and then let you guys chop it up, whatever you want. And again, I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor, so please just, take this as a layman, just trying to explain how I understand this. First, there's COVID doesn't really kill. COVID doesn't kill a lot of people, in a sense of, if 100 people were to get the virus, maybe 1 or 2 of those people would die, right? So the percentage of actual people who die from COVID is pretty low. And it's based on age. The older you are, the more likely you are to die from it. The younger you are, the less likely you are to die. Those are things that we can all agree on. But the issue with COVID seems to be the transmission. So now we're talking about scale. So if you're talking about 1 out of 100, if you scale that up to 1 million people, well, now you're talking about big numbers, right? 1% of 100 is 1, but 1% of 1 million is 100,000. So now you're talking about 100,000 people. 1% of 10 million, is 1 million people. So so the scale, we have the scale factor that we're talking about. So that seems to be the problem. And so if you just understand that principle, we're talking about just 1% of 10 million people. That's 1 million people, right? 10% of it's crazy. It's crazy. Let me see. I got to make sure I do my math right. 1% of 100 is 1 person, right? 1%. 1,000 is 10. 10,000 is 100. 100,000. Yeah. So I'm hoping this is why lawyers don't do math. But let's say, so let's say we got 100 million people. Then if you have 100 million people, that's 100 million people. That's a million people who could die of a virus, right? If you had 100 million people get infected, yes, 1 million is 10,000. Sorry. See, I told you my math had to be off. But if you have 100 million people, the United States has 300 million people. So if you have 100 million people, that's 1 million people, right? 1 million people out of 100 million people. Thank you for the math. Thank you for the math check. So 100 million people, that's a lot, right? You're really, really starting to see huge numbers. But then there's the second piece of it, is that some of those people would need to go to the hospital to get well, right? So it's not just the fact that 1% of the people die. And again, I'm making that number up. I don't know what the death rate is, but I'm just saying 1% because I'm assuming. So some people have been saying, 0.5%. Some people have been saying 2%. So I'm just using 1% as a marker. 100 million people get it. 1 million people would die if that number is correct. But the problem is now that we're getting is the hospitalization rate, right? The hospitalization rate. In other words, there's just a limited amount of hospital beds, right? There's a limited. So even if people get sick and need to recover in a hospital bed, if people need to recover in a hospital bed and there are no beds, then those people who would have survived, but for the, there's no hospital beds, are now going to die. And that seems to be the problem that we're experiencing now, is that the hospital system that can save these COVID patients, that generally can save these COVID patients, you just don't have hospital beds. Now, that's what happened in Italy earlier. I remember I don't know if you guys remember Italy, but the stories were coming out of Italy is that, somebody would call 911 for a heart attack. And the nearest hospital they can be taken to that had room was like, 2 hours away. That's the fear of COVID, is that not only COVID patients are going to be dying, but then you're going to have other people who could survive off of heart attacks, car accidents, whatever other things would also die because they wouldn't be able to get medical attention in time. So that's the fear. So that seems to be what we're going into now. So let me share this with you. Again, my thoughts. So this is the current hospitalization rate for COVID-19. And I want to show you this chart, which is scary, So before we had lockdowns and all this other stuff. And here is the current chart of the hospitalization rate in the United States. So here is our first wave of COVID. Then we had the dip. Then we had like this little, summer little spike, about the same. But now this is where we're at. And remember we had lockdowns here. We had full lockdowns. And then we did, then here we did some kind of, we mediated a little bit with some lockdowns, but now we're here. This is monstrous. This is almost double where we were at before. That's what we're dealing with. And then when you look at other states like North Carolina, if you look at this, it seems that with this chart that you're seeing here on the screen, if this is right, and these numbers are continuously going up and up and up, then then it's literally a math game. You're running out of hospital beds. There just won't be enough hospital beds for enough people. Now, one of the counters to that, which I think is fair, is saying, well, they can build a field hospital. Like in New York, we built field hospitals. They're building field hospitals in California and other places. So we can just build field hospitals. So if it's about hospital beds, we can get more hospital beds. But that's the second part of it, is that who's going to staff those hospital beds, right? It's not you can't just make doctors up, right? They have to come from somewhere. They have a doctor takes 7 years of intensive training just to be called a doctor, and now that amount of doctors who can treat those patients, who have the skill, the nurses who have the skill and expertise to treat them, who've gone through all that education, you don't have enough of them, right? So you can have as many hospital beds as you want, but if you don't have the nurse and doctor to take care of the people, then you're still in the same place. So let me get some in the side chat here. Uncivil law says 3% is too high. Yeah, that's why I use the 1% number. 3%. 298,000 deaths, 16 million cases, 0.2%, 60 million US cases, 0.2% death rate. Yeah, but then you still got just the 300,000 people. Yeah, but even at that death rate, you still see how many people are dying. That's insane. But that's actually I like that. It's a better number. Nate the lawyer. Did you see the lawsuit in Pennsylvania, how the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania subverted the Constitution? I did see that, but I have a little different take on that. Now, I'll speak about that maybe a little later. Just remind me. So as of right now, if this continues to go up, obviously. Now, hopefully, I'm hopeful that the vaccine that's being rolled out on Monday, right? Monday is being rolled out. If it goes to the most vulnerable populations, then hopefully that'll stop them from going to the hospital and maybe bring these numbers down. But I hear it takes 2 shots to be effective. So you may be talking about a month, so, and then you got Christmas coming up where they expect another surge. So this is, this is starting to get doom and gloom here. It's starting to get a little scary. So hopefully everything's kind of happening at one time, and hopefully the vaccine could stop a lot of this, but they're assuming that it's not because it's going to take the vaccine some amount of time to do it. Let me see. It's Nate the lawyer. Nate the lawyer. Have you looked up how many people died each month last year. No, but we can do that. I can check that out to see how many people died each month. Nate the lawyer, you seem to have forgotten the naval hospital ships that the mayor of New York refused to use. No, I remember. I remember the naval hospitals that they didn't use. I definitely remember that. I remember they came in. First they weren't taking COVID patients. Then they started taking COVID patients. So it was an interesting little it's a little mix because they didn't want to take COVID patients, then they did. So it was interesting. Melinda Gates, 270 million will die from starvation due to the lockdown. Ooh, wow. But yeah, it's interesting because I do think there are, it's it's almost like I don't know if you guys, it's like for me, like this comment reminds me of King Solomon, and or one of those things where you have to make a decision, and this decision leads you down this road, this decision leads you down that road. Which is the best for right now? Do you just open everything up, understanding that you could have mass deaths because people can't go to the hospital, or do you close things down and understand that some people may die from, like this guy saying, starvation? I don't know the answer. I don't make that much money, to make that call. That's the CDC, that's the scientists, the doctors. I kind of rely on the people who have 30, 40 years experience and who know the math, who know the science. If I could answer that question, I would. I just don't. I just don't. That's the reason why we elect these people to make those decisions. COVID patients weren't allowed in the hospital ships in New York. Yes, that's true. Australia suspended vaccine due to false HIV positive test. Interesting. I had to check that out. Thank you, John. Thank you so much. I'm definitely gonna check that out. That's gonna be interesting. I didn't know that. Here it is. Nate the lawyer. Nate the lawyer? Did you know they didn't put the numbers from the Indian reservation on the numbers of COVID? Nate, look up Navajo Nation number on COVID. Okay, so you guys are giving me a lot of homework to do. I'm about to rewatch the stream. Nate the lawyer, there's no free lunch here. Some people will die because of COVID. Others will die for other reasons. Cancer will die from COVID complications. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But again, I'm just saying I don't think the choice is the choice is kind of between a rock and a hard place. And I think I think people go out there and let's look at one of the models instead of just talking about an abstract. Hey, you guys know I like to try to be fact based here. So let's look at the model. Now this is the model that the White House says they use. So this is not something I'm just pulling out of my ass. This is the model the White House says it uses to track, to kind of model out how COVID is going to be. So you are now looking at the model the White House Coronavirus Task Force uses to kind of predict where things are going to be going. So this is, again, this is not me. Let me see. I thought the reason why people elect people is because most popular and necessarily most qualified. That's true. That's true. But again, that the president makes these decisions. So Nate the lawyer, you said that. I read that already. It says Nate the lawyer, as my hubby says, he is a doc. The cure can't be worse than the virus. True. Very good point, Lisa. My hubby has seen so many mental health problems from the lockdown itself. Suicide is up 800%. Yes, but I would need to see the number just on mass suicides, right? Is there mass suicides where, or 300,000 people dying of suicides, or is it 1,000 people? Because again, I know this is not going to be sensitive to say, but you're trying to figure out, it's a choice between lives. If I know I'm going to have 1,000 suicides, but 300,000 COVID deaths, do I go to try to stop the 300,000 deaths? How do you stop both? Can you stop both? These are the questions that the doctors and the professionals ask. I agree. If suicides are up 800%, that's insane. But how is that in the overall picture? That's one bad stat. But how does that fit to the overall picture? So again, here's the model that the CDC uses, right? This is not the CDC, the White House Coronavirus Task Force. And so here we are today, and they are predicting, this is the predictions for February, by the end of February. Now, this is with the vaccine rollout, with everything. So rapid vaccine rollout, they predict by February, we should have, let me increase this view a little bit so we can see it all together. All right. So they're saying by February, exit that. Sorry about that. I exited the wrong screen, so I turned off my stream, but it happens. Let me just pull this back up. Sorry about the hiccup here, but that's me clicking too many things too fast. All right, let me share this again. Oh, there we go. All right, so share screen. Here we go. Chrome tab. Boop. So here we go. So they're saying by February 1st, we should have, if we just do universal mass, we should have almost 386,000 deaths. Rapid vaccine rollout, 409. So we're looking at probably 400,000 people dying by February. That's what this is more or less saying. We're looking at 400,000 people dying by February. So that's scary. 400,000 people dying by February, and that's with the rapid vaccine rollout. And if universal masks will not happen in the United States. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. I think it's now become unrealistic. Even though we're telling people to wear masks, there are just too many people out there who are not going to wear a mask. It's just not going to happen. I don't know why. I don't know if people are, if people just don't understand it. It's a freedom issue for a lot of people. So, hey, people are just not going to wear masks. So, them saying, mask mandates, it's just not going to happen. Even if you were to mandate, I think the Americans just, they have been sold that masks don't work in certain places. So, like in New York, where it's if you don't have a mask on, you're in trouble. You can't go into any store or anything. But I think if you go to Texas, North Dakota, or South Dakota, you just it's just not going to happen. So that's my thing with COVID. I think this thing is getting worse. It's going to get better. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I think the COVID thing is a real problem, and it's getting worse. It is getting tremendously worse. Don't forget, we're losing something like, at the height of the pandemic, we were losing something like 1,000 people a day. Now we're losing 2,000 people a day, and nobody's even batting an eye. Like when have we gotten so desensitized to this stuff, right? When has it been like, where you get 2,000 people a day dying from COVID in the United States, and we're not blinking an eye? Nobody's even. It's like I'm thinking we're just getting desensitized to just what's it's. I don't know. It just does not make sense. Just does not make sense. Let me pull up this last chart so you guys can see what I'm seeing. And again, if you guys, if you guys think I'm wrong, if you think I'm misrepresenting something, please let me know. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you guys what I'm thinking and sharing my thoughts and my thought process in looking up this stuff. Let me pull this. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Zoom out so we can see these charts. Oops. Okay. So this chart itself is daily new cases. Again, this is the height of the pandemic. Then we had this little bulge, and now look where we're at now. That's insane. That's insane, right? Daily new cases. That number is astronomically bad. Astronomically bad. But I don't know. I don't know. Nate the lawyer, reading the suicide rate, I'm taking it at face value. You'd also have to show that fewer measures would bring down the suicide rate. Very good point. Very good point, Barney. Barney makes an excellent point. You would have to show that, i.e., that the lockdown anxiety is what caused the rate rather than pandemic anxiety. Correct. Yes, you'd have to show. It's like the but for test. But for this, then that happens. So, I understand people are skeptical of COVID, but this is not good. These graphs, if this was how much money I was making on my subscriber count, then that would be great. I'd be like, oh my God, look at these numbers. These numbers are fantastic. But this is not. Look at the death rate. This was the beginning. This is what the second. Now look at this. It's, oh my God, look at that. December 9th, we had 3,000 people die of COVID in one day. So I don't know, people. I don't know. I think whatever we're doing, it ain't working. So maybe we need to just do something different. Maybe we need to I don't know. You know, like, what do you guys think? Am I just off here? Am I just, am I just another, what is it called? COVID alarmist? Because that's like the new term going around, COVID alarmist. You're an alarmist for COVID. Let me see. Oh, nobody's tagging me anything. Nobody's talking to me anymore. It's all right. It's all right. Oh, here we go. Nate the lawyer. Nate the lawyer, it's like being desensitized in the midst of a war. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Because we're in the middle of it. But it's crazy because and I do want to say this, and I know some people aren't going to like this, but when have you ever watched? Well, I'm in my 40s, so it's like, have you ever watched one of those movies where they say, like, it's illegal to go see your family? And, we see these like totalitarian states, so you can't see your family, you can't show emotions, you got to stay locked up in your house, that type of thing. And then come to find out you're living in that world, right? Like, in some places, it was illegal to go see your family on Thanksgiving. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that, right? There's a new movie coming out called Pandemic, and it's supposed to be it's fictitious about a new COVID strain, COVID 2023 or something like that, and it's supposed to be like 10 times more virulent than the COVID we have now. It's supposed to kill like 50% of the people. Am I muted? Hold on, somebody says I'm muted. Can you guys hear me? Let me see. Mic, audio. Yeah, my mic is good. Maybe you have the mute button on, but yeah, it's saying I'm good here. So yeah, no, somebody put muted. So I was like, yeah, maybe I'm muted. Maybe I'm talking to myself. All right, here we go. Nate the lawyer, alarmist. No, I think you're counting wrong. It is how many would have otherwise lived but for COVID. The deaths are X, Y, and Z. It's a very good point. Very good point, Joseph. Very good point. I hear all. You should have told me. I would have sent you a link this morning. Hell, next time you gotta let me know on civil law. You're sitting there in the background. I'd have definitely sent you a link. I can hear you fine. Thank you, guys. So that's it with COVID for me. I think there's a problem. I'm hoping the vaccine can be rolled out quickly. I'm hoping if the vaccine does roll out and people are being vaccinated, then it stops these numbers. But right now, with hospitalizations like going crazy, and there are places that have just run out of hospital beds, like they're building field hospitals. But we'll see. The Christmas surge is going to be up too. So, they're talking about another 100,000 people dying within the next 6 weeks. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. So I'm hoping that the vaccines will be successful. We have so many different vaccine candidates, but we'll see. But one thing I was mentioning the movie Pandemic, and they were doing press for it. You know how they do press for all these movies, and they were shooting them. They were filming the movie, and they were taking shots. They were taking shots of, like, the abandoned cities. So they were able to get most of their shots from LA under the lockdown. And it was funny because that's what they were saying. They were like, oh my God, like the pictures you see in the movie of this, like the LA being a ghost town and being no people on the highway. We actually took that. We didn't shut down a highway. We took that like when it was locked down. Somebody had the forethought to say, let's take B-roll of all this, emptiness, and then we can run a movie through it. And they did that. And so that's the world we live in. We're living in the world where, we're afraid to go outside. This is that nightmare scenario, and it's just so wild that we're in it. But I think we just don't realize we're in the nightmare. We're in the nightmare. Like someone said earlier, it's probably just desensitized to it. Think about it. Don't go see your family for Thanksgiving. Don't go see your family for Christmas. Did you guys, and let's just be real. If we go back 5 years ago, would you guys think that the government would be telling you something like that? Just imagine you go back 5 years and somebody said that the government's going to tell you not to go see your family for Christmas. You'd be like, nah, that's impossible. People are uprising against that. That's the world we're living in. We're living in that world. Wake up, people. Thanks for your analysis, Nate. Keep up the fight. NYC for 2A rights. Yes, 100%. 100%. I'm hoping that lawsuit from the New York State Rifle Association. But yeah, no, we're going all in with that. Thank you. Congratulations on your channel growth and for hooking us up with the other cool lawyers on YouTube. Ah, thank you, Exile, and congratulations to you too. Don't forget, we're celebrating you today. We're celebrating you today, and thank you. Let me go. All right, so for my last thing, so my last topic of this morning is going to be my first year on this platform on YouTube. And it's so much. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me go to Social Blade. I'm going to go to Social Blade and show you my stats for like the past year. Let me see detailed statistics. So here we go. These things are so small, and it's funny because when you do this, they don't. Let me see if I can screen share this. Screen share. Boop. All right. Chrome tab. Social Blade. All right, let me see how this looks on screen. All right. That looks good. And thank you guys for the super chats. You guys are so generous. I really appreciate it. So first, let me start with how I got here. It's just, it's interesting because, I was teaching and it's funny because I have like another channel that when I was teaching at the law school, I was teaching both academic skills and I've taught things like family law, like I was teaching family law at the law school. And for my first year at teaching at the law school, I had my own site. I developed a YouTube site, and that YouTube site was dedicated to just my students. And I was trying to find a way to. I felt like it was so stupid that I would give a presentation, no one would film it. I would give a presentation, and the students had to hear it cold there. And if they didn't hear it just cold right there in the moment, it was like that was it, Or they had to speak to one of their friends and say, "Oh, he went over this." So I said, "This just doesn't make any sense. Let me just film my sessions, my sessions, and put it up so the students can get it whenever they want." And then it became like, you know what? Why am I filming these sessions where I just got a camera just looking at me talk on the screen? I could actually do this where I can, do a video, and it's just really just a PowerPoint. I put a PowerPoint up. I can narrate the PowerPoint and you'll give them the points, and then I can open it up for questions. So I built a YouTube channel, and it's funny because the videos on that channel started like blowing up. Like, at first it was like, first it was like 10, 15 people because there's really students in my class. Then next thing I know, I had like, what is it? How many was it? It was something like one video got like 9,000 views, and I was like, what the hell? Who's watching this crap? But then I was like, well, you know what? It just makes sense to actually put this stuff on YouTube. So I actually pitched it to the school. I'm like, we should do something like this on YouTube or something like that. And they were still into, it's really, we don't really want to do that. We really want to have the in-school experience. So when I left the school, I was like, you know what? I think I can do this. I think there's a market out there for this. And then I just started doing my research, and I remember even I pitched it to a couple of people in the Discord. Hey, what do you guys think about this idea? And everybody was pretty cool with it. So I started marketing it. I filled out and got a grant, and it was actually written really, really well. And then I had a case that really blew up. When in private practice, I had a case that it hit. I'm talking about like, it was like a lotto hit. It hit for me at that time. And what it did was it didn't make me rich. It made me able to kind of jump into YouTube without having to worry to go with the 9 to 5. Now I still was doing like, I still was taking other cases. Like, I was actually representing a couple of attorneys at the time. So it was good that I was able to still keep my private practice going, but and still get that revenue. But then it was like this YouTube thing was doing well. And then it just obviously exploded to where it is now. So that journey, I always say it's not about the end where you get, but how you got there, the journey to get there. And that's what this whole thing is about. And that's what I wanted to show you guys, my journey from that, from 500 subs all the way to where we're at today, almost at 50,000. And it's been a fantastic journey. And I've met so many great people. I've met some horrible people, I've met some great people, but it's all just, this is just what it's been about. So here is my YouTube stats, my total subscribers for Nate the Lawyer Weekly. So when I actually started, it was about here in 2019. So I got to go. I got to go back. Can I go back? Is this detailed statistics? This is 2019. So I'll even go November 2019. But I was at like 1,200 subscribers, 1,200 total subscribers for my channel, right? 1,200 by October. And you can just see it was a slow build, right? 1,200. So even by last year, December, about this time, I was at about 2,000 subscribers. Right. So this is where I was at. That's just where that was just it. I was about 2,000 subscribers, just trying to figure it out, trying to get equipment, trying to figure out, how to even put a message out there, making content, just saying, how can I put value into YouTube? And it's funny because when you look at Emily Baker's, her thing is exactly the same. And it's just like, it was just a slow grind, putting out content, building a following, building a fan base. And eventually, when I got here, this was my Breonna Taylor video. This is the Breonna Taylor video I put out. And then that's when it just happened. It just, boom, it just went up to 40,000. And now, I'm almost at the threshold of 50,000, almost at 48,000 subs. And this is my year. This is my year on YouTube. And it's been so fascinating to understand how you go from almost nothing on the platform to now being, to now being kind of at that cusp of 50,000 subs. And I remember there's another YouTuber who hates my guts. The guy's like obsessed with me. It's a guy who's like, the guy hasn't had a job in like 10 years or something like that. It's the guy's like insane, but he's totally obsessed with me, which is fine. I'm an attractive guy, but the interesting part about it is that person used to always say, like, these people have failed. These people can't do anything. This person, always just that was like the big quirk. Like, they were successful, and my channel was nothing. Now that person has, I've dwarfed that person's subscribers. As a matter of fact, I've even dwarfed the person who another person who was saying that they would use their subscriber count as a pissing tool. Hey, look, my subscriber count is bigger. Nate's, it's failed. And now that I've dwarfed them, it's just funny to see how things have changed. It really is funny how things have changed. It's interesting that now, those people are now the failed ones. It's shocking. It's shocking. And just to see the attacks on one side, it's just like, it's really insane. It's funny because last night, all right, I'm on with Emily and we're talking about and I never even mentioned this person's name. I didn't even mention this person's name. I said somebody was, I think, harassing me or stalking, but I didn't mention the person's name. That person is so obsessed with me that person was on another show. He was on another show and was watching me on my show, right? So this person, a guest on another show, streaming live, saw what I said and started tweeting out stuff trying to counteract what I said. That's how insane this person is. It's literally crazy. Now, I don't mind having people who are obsessed with me because obviously, there's a little jealousy. The person, for instance, has no degree, has no nothing, doesn't have a job. It's on, was on public benefits and things of that nature, and was hiding funds. Like, I tell my business partner to hold my money so I can continue to get, medical benefits. Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, there's a problem with that, but it is what it is. So, like me personally, it's just like, why even talk about these losers? Why even talk about these losers? It's funny because one of my friends was like, hey, just leave those fools behind. But don't get me wrong, I understand why they hate me, because they hate success. And now I am the success that I'm the success that they can't have. And hopefully one day they will find that success. But unfortunately, it is what it is. Don't hate me. Hate the algorithm, hate YouTube, hate your own content. But if you're hating on me, I don't write your scripts. I don't do your videos. So this year. So let me just give you my take on this year. First, I have so many people I have to personally thank. Number one, Viva. Viva has been a mentor. He's given me knowledge. He's told me how to write videos, how to screw up my channel, how to talk to an audience. Viva has been, even though me and him disagree politically a lot of the times, if it wasn't for Viva, I wouldn't have, this channel would not be like it is today. I wouldn't have done the Breonna Taylor video if it wasn't for Viva, the one that got me all these subs. So Viva, oh my God, Viva. If anyone could ask me for anything, it is Viva Farai. Go subscribe to that guy's channel. He has been one of the people who has taken me under his wing and has helped me become the success I am here. That's just fact. Brandon Tatum is another one who has been tremendous in my progression, in being a Black attorney, being online, because I don't want to say conservative, but I'm kind of an independent. I lean left some things, lean right some other stuff. 2A, obviously very right. When it comes to things like women's right to choose, I'm left. But that's someone who's also been tremendous in the growth of my channel and me getting my message out. So Brandon Tatum, another one. Thank you so much. And there's some other people behind the scenes that you just don't know about. Dragnot Silvis. Dragnot Silvis is this monologue, for instance, I learned from Dragnot. Dragnot taught me how to monologue. Dragnot taught me how to understand how to talk to people on YouTube, how to set up how to set up stuff, the financials on YouTube. Dragnot introduced me to all the other people who helped me even go forward on YouTube. Dragnot Silvis. This channel is what it is. It couldn't be what it is without Dragnot. Dragnot, the way I'm even talking to you now, is something that Dragnot worked with me on being able to get a message. And then people say, it was funny because early on people were like, hey, it seems a little bit like Dragnot, but it was just it works. I used to call him the master monologuer, but he does it, and and it was honestly without him, this channel would not be what it is. Dragnot, thank you. Again, thank you so much. It's just that's just the truth. That's just the truth. And there's so many other people I can thank. Hamzabi, Agrippa, Ruhef too. Steve's Ruhef. When I was moving up, right, and I was thinking about like, this is going too slow. I need to make more money. Let me go back. Steve's Ruhef was telling me, you got to continue on. You got to do. Congratulations, you're going to make 10,000 subs. You're going to do it. Continue to do it. So Ruhef was, he gave me that push to say, keep doing it. So it's another person, he's on the other side. He's another person that I got to give credit to. You got to give credit to. And there's going to be people who I'm missing, right? Agrippa has been a tremendous help every day, helping me understand the business aspect of YouTube. It's so many people that's from Fabio understanding technology to, oh my God. But what I mean by that, it takes a community to do this. It really does. No man does this alone. The top people I have to honestly thank is my wife and my kids. That's where I'm at now. My kids' room, they give me time. They supported me in doing this. It's to live with me and to have me going back and forth and do videos and editing and all that stuff, and not being able to play with them all the time. That this takes away from time with them. And, we've all kind of suffered a little bit, but it's the people who are close to you most that support you with this that you have to definitely shout out. So my wife, my kids, it's unquestioned that they are extremely important in this whole process, in this whole journey, from its first year in YouTube. And I got to thank Fiona Robinson, and I got to thank the fans. Like Secret Squirrel, for instance, who's just super chatting me again. It takes a village and a few nuts. That's true. Just being able to support, super chat. So all this stuff really, really does make a difference. It really makes a difference because it helps me gives me the freedom to do this content. It one of the Breonna Taylor video was one of the hardest videos I had to do, because I knew I was going to tell people things that they did not want to hear. I was telling people things that they wanted to hear, but without support, then it's easy to just be cast aside. So it really, really is important. And sometimes you just don't say that every day. Some other people I gotta thank the Unirock crew. The Unirock crew, they helped me do research. They helped me get stories. Even recently, now we had our issues at the beginning, but they've been a tremendous help. Most of my mods are from the Unirock crew. Christina Ray, this is she's from the Unirock crew, and this is one of my my best mods. And where's my other mod? Is he here? Is he here? I gotta please type something so I can let people know who you are. Timothy S says, I hope you do a series on the systematic issues that you observed during your time as a professional involved. Thanks for doing what you do. Thank you, Timothy S, and thank you for the super chat. And I probably will. I was thinking about writing it up. But yeah, no, it's been an amazing journey. Just the people you meet. Oh, here it is. You changed your name. That's why. Titus Uranus. This is my brother. This is him and Christina are two of the best mods on the planet. They mod for some of the other channels, legal channels too. I always say if you need a mod, these are the two people to go to. Barney Tensel is another person. Barney, the one lesson, and this shows you how you can learn something from everybody. Barney taught me how to challenge my own thoughts, because there was a lot of times where I would think that I knew something and I would read it, and Barney would be the one to say, well, hold on, why don't you take the other position? Why don't you think about this critically? Why don't you see if you can understand it? Don't think you know it, because if you think you know it, that's when you don't know it. And with that, going over things with Barney, I think one night we went over something for almost 10 hours. And then at the end of the day, we finally, going through that process of not thinking I know it, but finding the truth was so valuable, because again, this all goes into how this content is. And if you're enjoying it, these are the people who've helped me get to the point where this has become like it is now. Tom Rogers, thank you for the $5 super chat. So we are, it's just an amazing story. How is your NY permit lawsuit going? Well, this is what happened. I contacted the New York State Rifle Association and spoke to the president of the New York State Rifle Association. And I explained to them that, hey, I would be the best plaintiff for this type of lawsuit. I was going to do this, and I wanted to see if they can help me. I'm a member of the NRA. So, we talked about the NRA and them, but they already have a lawsuit that's going to challenge the New York City permits that they're looking to get certiorari for now. So their idea was like, well, hold on. They recently had the last 2A lawsuit to go to Supreme Court was actually New York State Rifle Association. And when they read the opinion and saw that the justices were like, hold on, these licensing permits requirements are crazy, they then already had a case ready to go up challenging the licensing. So I didn't know that before. I was, trying to figure out how I'm going to sue them. So they're already doing it. So I'm just waiting for them to see what's going to happen. I got to call back the president, because I was supposed to have him on to talk about the lawsuit. So whenever I can get back with him, I will. But these people are phenomenal people. They obviously they're doing a lot of work now because the Biden administration is going in. So they're trying to figure out that. But we'll see. Again, that's what's going on with the New York State stuff. I'm really just trying to wait to see how the Rifle Association's case works out, and hopefully they'll get cert for the Supreme Court and be done with these unconstitutional licensing permits. And I also want to be clear too. I'm a former Leo. I'm a former prosecutor. I can go get a permit like nothing, right? I'm not even going to have a problem, to be honest with you. But it's not about if I can get one easily. It's just the process in getting one. I think it's unfair. And, I feel like it's one of those things where I can do me and damn everybody else, or I can fight, for what I think is right. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that. But we'll see. I mean, again, fingers crossed for the New York State Rifle Association, I'm actually going to give some funding sources for them too. So if you want to help out, with their cause, but them and the NRA are kind of tight knit, so they're going to take care of it. Let me see. Anybody else? Oh yeah. Now there are a couple of other people who I am going to mention by name, and this is I'm going to call this the people who hate you and how they can also help you succeed. So first, Cheshire Vig. Person hates my guts, has said some horrible things. But I learned something from Cheshire. When I was, when we were really in the battle against, the whole, you're saying the convicted serial blankist is, is innocent. She said something that really that piqued my interest, and that I took to heart. This is when I had like maybe 500-600 subs. She saw, obviously, she was watching my videos, and she said Nate would do very well if he just moved on and just did his thing, because his content is not bad. He would do actually well for himself. And that, when she said that, it made me think, it was like, yeah, what the hell am I arguing with these bums for when I can do well for myself? And so it just shows you, even from, a broken clock is wrong, is right twice a day. And I think she was right. She was right. And another thing that's really helped me hone the ability to explain things with facts and not with color is Steve McCrae. And I'll say why. Steve McCrae is one of those people who is incessantly lies, right? He incessantly lies. Like he has a restraining order for him against a harassment restraining order. He says it's not a restraining order, even though the document says a restraining order. But his ability to lie, to weasel his way out of things that he said and reframe history has made me attuned to understanding that it's not about the evidence sometimes. It's about what people's perception of it is. So there's a lot of people out there who've heard Steve say these things, but just dismiss it because they don't care about the evidence, right? They care about the person. And it honed my skills to say, well, listen, I'm not arguing with Steve, right? There's no real argument between me and Steve, right? He said these things. Only thing I do is say, hey, you said these things, or you haven't said these things. And by just focusing on the evidence of the things that he's actually said is the win, right? I don't have to argue with somebody and say, well, Steve said Warren is an honorable man and he's innocent, right? Why? Because he said it, right? Watch the clip, I don't have to say that Steve lied about this. Why? Just watch the clip. He's lying, it's right there. I don't have to say that Steve was trying to hide money so he can continue to get, insurance that he wouldn't have been qualified for. Why? Because he said it, right? He said it, right? I don't need to say something again that he's already said. And that was the key point. That is the one great lesson I learned from Steve, is that when you have someone stupid enough to say stupid things, then just play their own words and let them discuss it, right? I don't need to tell you what they said. Just play the clips. And that's where I think the power of my interactions with Steve. But now, unfortunately, it is, it's time for me to move on, it's funny because even this last little dust up between us, it was really about someone showed a video of mine. He said something about me. I say something about, I'm like, no, it's the truth of it, and so forth and so forth. And that's what the whole dust up. It's really worth nothing. But at the end of the day, I wish them luck. I wish him luck with the non sequitur show. Hopefully it'll be as big. And think about this. The best show that Steve's ever had, the best that he's ever done on YouTube is the non sequitur show, right? The best that he's ever done on YouTube is the non sequitur show. And he calls me a failure. And my channel now dwarfs that show. If I woke up tomorrow and my channel became the non sequitur show with their subs and that type of stuff, and the money that channel was making, I would be losing. I would be like, oh my God, there's a problem. So, it's just that's just real talk. This is real talk. The non sequitur show is really nothing. They're spending $50,000 for a show that most people would laugh at now. So it's this, and I say all of this to say this: people are going to say horrible things about you as they do about me. People are going to lie, to be deceitful. But if you can learn from those things and you can become a better person and you can use them to your advantage, then use it. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And for the fact that, like, even now with Katie Joy Paulson, I believe she's going to win her case, but we will see. And hopefully, I wish her all the best. I actually think that she's going to win. I think her case is. I think the case that Toddy put up is pretty weak, and I think she's going to win. I think Emily disagrees with me. I think Kirk may disagree with me, but I do think I think she's going. I think she's going to be successful. And to be honest with you, I would like her to be successful because I think the law is on her side. But that doesn't mean if I can't be wrong. Of course, I can be wrong. But those are my reasons. So good luck to Katie Jo Paulson, and I hope she's successful in her lawsuit, and I hope she finds the peace that she's been looking for online. And I think, and I wish that for you all. So without that, does anybody have any last questions for me before I get out of here? So you guys have heard me monologue, Dragnot style, for like the last hour. But so I'm about to get out of here. I do want to thank all of you guys who are sitting here watching me this morning. 136, 137 people. Thanks again for just spending a little time with me. I hope to do you proud. I got some more content coming out this week, and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and continue on this journey with me. Because there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but again, it's about the journey. One of my friends told me yesterday, I was like, it's not about the destination, it's the journey. And the person said, the destination for everyone is death. So it's never about the destination. It's always about the journey. Interesting take. So again, my name is Nate, Laura YouTuber, and I'm out of here. Peace, everybody.